Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. Come on, man.
Guys, welcome to the VFW Hall here in Daleville. I want to appreciate and thank everybody that came out tonight, took time out of their Friday evening. I think that definitely deserves a round of applause from everybody. Some of you guys remember me from February 15th when we did the first militia muster for Botetourt County, and I'm proud to say that it's grown exponentially since then. There's been a lot of organization since then, and there's been a lot of talent acquired since then. So I'm just really, really proud of the group and really, really proud of everybody that's been involved with this process. I'm not going to say nearly what I said the last time. I think everybody by this point knows how I feel. But we have a lot of great speakers tonight. We have the sheriff from Botetourt County today, Matt Ward. I really appreciate you coming out, Sheriff. Troop 211, Boy Scout Troop 211 showed up. They're going to do a color guard presentation for us. Jim Ludington's going to pray for us before we begin. And then, of course, Senator Amanda Chase, Attorney General candidate Chuck Smith. And Jim, you want to start?
Sure. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the freedom we have to meet like this, to have organizations like this. We thank you for this great nation that we are blessed to be born in or immigrate to and become citizens. We ask you to bless this organization that we can serve our community and have called upon to protect our community as well. Guide us this evening, Lord, and I want to pray for each of the board members of the Botetourt Citizens Defense Group, for Scott, and for Matt, Carrie. I can't think of them all, Lord, but Sean and all of the board members, I ask you to just guide them, give them wisdom, give them strength, and just let them continue the hard work that they're doing. Bless this evening, guide us as we meet this evening, and just bless this day. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Sir, are your scouts ready to go?
Color guard, halt. Color guard, present the colors. Please stand if you are able. Remove any headwear. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard, retreat. Color guard, halt. Color guard, return to ranks. Thank you.
Is it on?
Yeah.
I think you turned it off.
I believe everybody can hear me now. Thank you, Scott. I'm not here to speak, so you're fortunate tonight, but I did want to come and introduce myself. I'm here because, well, I'm here with you as well. I want to express that as much as possible. I'm here. I share your concerns. I support you. COVID That shouldn't be scaring you right now. The state government should be scaring you right now. We have got to turn this state red. Everybody knows, you're looking at the news, you're seeing it every day, vilifying law enforcement. You've seen the special session is out there right now. It's supposed to be addressing concerns with the current budget reduction, and they're up there just one after another making our jobs harder. And all that's going to do is make this community a whole lot less safe with those things. But, you know, we have a conservative community. I'm fortunate for that. A lot of those things that are coming down, we can deal with it. There's a phrase that I'd use, but I think we're recording, so I think I might just stay away from it. But I'm here for Toys for Body Tots as well. You know, my first priority as sheriff and being elected was community engagement, building those relationships in a non-enforcement environment, in community activity, in various events, in various community activities. And that's one of the priorities I have this year that we're working on this year, is establishing that partnership. Now, of course, all that's been put on a screeching halt with COVID and everything else. I would have never expected coming into an election and newly elected in the first 9 months of what I've experienced. I've been doing this for 24 years. I started as an auxiliary deputy sheriff with the Botetourt County Sheriff's Office in 1996, and I've been there since then. They told me one day, come in, take your auxiliary stripe off, and that's what it is, and I still probably got some of the uniforms that I've had for that many years. But the direction of what I am seeing right now has got to scare you folks. And we have got to get the voter registration. There was about 15,000 people approximately that didn't vote in this county this last election. You multiply that by 120 different counties throughout the state, I can tell you we can up those numbers. Northern Virginia, I mean, it's a tie in the neck and neck. But let me tell you what, those liberals are out there on a ground game, and they're out there block by block in a ground roots game, and they're signing people up, and they're pushing this false narrative. And that's what's happening in Richmond. You're seeing in Richmond, none of that stuff applies. There is a blanket order coming down from Richmond that happened in Minneapolis. Now, I agree. No man should be sitting on somebody's neck for 8 minutes after he's in custody. And it goes for law enforcement. If you're a law enforcement officer and your actions are wrong, you need to be held accountable by the rule of law. But we got to stop governing off feelings and start applying logic and rationale and getting back and doing what we did. I can agree with them with decertification, but if I call Chief so-and-so over here, hey, I got this guy applying, you know, he's got to sign 50 pages just for me to get into his personnel file so I can see what's going on. But as your sheriff, let me tell you, if you go to my website and you look at the chain of command, the top person on there, and I want you to know, you're my boss. We have a system in place that checks and balances. If I'm not doing what you feel that I need to be doing every 4 years, you can let me know at the ballot box. So if you go into that website, look at my chain of command, on top of the chain of command, it's the citizens of Botetourt County before it's me. But here I am rambling. I don't want to take the thunder away from Amanda Chase. And I can understand there's probably some apprehension from people. Well, what's the sheriff think about this? What's the sheriff think about it? By golly, it's your personal liberties. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It ain't my position to tell you whether you're not to be in the militia or the Botetourt Citizens Defense Group. That's your personal liberty. I share your concerns, and I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for doing more, because you have to do more, not just that. And it's going to take everybody out here. You know, that neighbor that doesn't vote, why don't you vote? Encourage them. Are you watching the news? Are you seeing what's going on? It is Virginia has fundamentally changed. When Caleb said, we are going to fundamentally change the state of Virginia, he wasn't joking. They're supposed to be up there working on the budget right now in Richmond, and they're sitting here vilifying police officers and releasing murderers. I mean, it's beyond shocking to me, the 24 years I've been in there. You know, a man murders a police officer in '79, he's walking out because of COVID. COVID is no reason. You know, there's no justifiable reason to say anything about COVID. That man got a death sentence, and then he was judged to have a death sentence. He got it life, and now he's released. So he's had 3 breaks in between that. But I'm going on, but I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for coming out. I wanted to introduce myself. I support you. I share your concerns, but we got to turn it around. We got to get this state red. We have never seen anything like this until we came out till this year, and it's been fundamentally changed. But Toys for Botetourt was a community project that we did, and there's an estimated. We have a community here in Botetourt County that has an ability to pay. You look at this community, the value of land, houses. I mean, it's a rich community. There's people in need here still in this community, and there's children. This is about the children. I got a soft spot from my heart for children. So if you get a chance, we're having September 26th, Fincastle Baptist Church. It's going to be an outdoor event with COVID in mind. We're having a raffle, drop off a toy. We're having a poker run, raffle, 50-50. Pork chop dinner, so come on out, September 26th. But I want to thank you. That's a lot of presents back there, Matt and Scott and everybody with the Botetourt Citizens Defense Group. It's a lot of toys, and we certainly appreciate it, and we use those to supplement off the Angels list. But also, what I'd like to put a bug in your ear, on October the 6th, when COVID hit, we have a thing called National Night Out. National Night Out is a national campaign that brings communities, law enforcement, and communities together in partnership. And what we're going to be doing, unless an event of rain and thunderstorms or anything, we're going to be having that at Fincastle Baptist too. That's the night to come out and show the guys, hey, we really support you. We back the blue. And come on out. It's a national night out. We're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs, popcorn for the kids, some ice cream. We're going to have a canine demonstration. We'll have the Bearcat out there that you can see that, and several other things. But this is the time for us to come together as a community. October the 6th, that got continued from August is when they usually have it. Come out and show the guys, hey, you really support it. We know you do. We see the comments, but come out and visit us and show that you support the guys out here protecting the community on October the 6th at Fincastle Baptist from 5 to 7 p.m. I appreciate you. Don't have apprehensions of being involved in this. Stand up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing more. And thank you for being out here and being present and doing more and being involved in your community. I appreciate your time. I just wanted to introduce myself. And Scott, you want to come in here?
Yeah, thank you, Sheriff. Thank you.
All right, I think I went on a little too far.
Thank you, Sheriff. Sheriff Ford mentioned bringing the thunder, so we're going to bring it. Rich Donnelly, Colonel, United States Air Force, retired. Thank you, Rich. And a good friend of mine.
Thanks, Sheriff Ford. Appreciate you coming out. I'd like to welcome everybody here. Great to see this turnout. I'd also like to welcome our guest, Senator Chase, who's going to be here, and Chuck Smith running for your next Attorney General. It takes a lot to step up and run for statewide office, so a lot of respect there for those folks doing it. So, my name's Rich Donnelly, and I am a member of the Botetourt Citizens Defense Group. I'm just going to take a few minutes of your time and just got a few things to say. So like a lot of folks here, sorry about that. Like a lot of folks here, I became interested in this group because of the last year's threat to the Second Amendment, right, which interests a lot of us. But I joined because of what I see this group becoming. All right, a bit about my background. I'm not from here. Retired Air Force colonel, was a rescue helicopter pilot, and finished up as a colonel in the Pentagon. I've, like most folks in today's military, I have been places on behalf of the United States. Not a hero, but I've met some. I've seen violence and chaos, and I'm not interested in seeing that here. I also like it here, and I plan on staying. Never been much into firearms, but over the last 10 years or so, I've been concerned enough to buy some and put away some supplies, right? I always considered the Second Amendment as the most foundational of our constitutionally guaranteed rights. I had the idea that if they could take away our guns, well, then the government could do anything they wanted to us. But boy, was I wrong, right? We learned this year, what? That the governor can just wipe away the First Amendment, prohibit freedom of assembly, prohibit religion, and the courts and the legislature are not going to do anything. In fact, they'll just cheer him on and give him more power. We also learned this year that the governor can all by himself make his own law. He can declare an emergency, write laws, decide that he's going to close businesses and mandate masks, and nobody's going to do anything about it. Whether you believe in masks or not, our constitutionally established representative government never envisioned an executive with unlimited power. A government that can force businesses to close but lets mobs burn your residence will not protect your rights. Smarter men than me have said that America is not so much a nation of laws as a nation of political will. To paraphrase Ben Franklin, we only have a republic if we can keep it, and in my view, we have not been doing a great job of keeping it lately. But even if we have the will, and even if we want to stand for the idea of America and individual rights, what can any of us do? What can you do as an individual? When the government closes your business because somebody didn't wear a mask, or the SWAT team comes for your rifle because you posted something on Facebook, or the mob comes to burn your business, none of us can stand alone. But we can stand together. Whether it's 300 against a million, or the odds are a little better, history has shown that free people standing together can make a difference. Like some of you, I was concerned with the idea of a militia, right? We all have that idea in our head of a bunch of reckless rednecks. Gotta watch where I'm standing, right? But in reality, the idea of a militia goes back to our founding and beyond, right? Free people have always self-organized to protect themselves and their families. In the 19th century, America had a lot of militias. They were often independent of the state, privately funded, functioned much like fraternal orders do today, just like the people that meet in this building. They provided support to the communities in many ways, just like volunteer fire companies, which we still have today. After 1900, these militias kind of fell out of favor with the rise of state-sponsored militias and urban police forces. The militias kind of died out. There was an act called the Militia Act in 1903 that generally federalized U.S. control over military forces. And then by the 1940s, of course, the National Guard had become just another branch, essentially, of the military. But militias remain a core of our founding. So as we decide what kind of country we will become, it seems reasonable to examine our past. I recently reread Jeff Shera's book, Rise to Rebellion. If you haven't read it, it's a great novel about the lead up to the American Revolution.
Disconnected.
Test 1, 2, sorry, not mine. So the men who stood against the greatest army in the world at Lexington and Concord were who? Militiamen who thought it was their duty to preserve their own. What I found most interesting about the book, though, was the number of usurpations endured by the colonists, right? They sent, thank you, they sent petitions to the king, they sent emissaries that were all ignored, they had peaceful protesters burn their cities, and the soldiers, and independence was not declared until the war had really started. Mark Twain said that history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. We are not in the same position as the founders, right? We are not them. But our choices remain similar. We can bend the knee, or we can stand for our liberty, right? I say that a trained militia consisting of the body of the people is a prudent and reasonable thing to build. And while I won't deny that some of us do have so It's true that some of us do have redder necks than others, but when you read the charter of this group, it's about two things: preparedness and helping the community. Not all of us are experienced hunters or soldiers, but each of us can contribute in some way. Not that all of this will be smooth sailing, right? When this group does have to stand against hoodlums or against the government, there will be trouble, and we will not be able to hide. There is strong rationale for each of us keeping our heads down and remaining the gray man, right? But I return to the idea that we cannot stand alone and we must stand together. If you believe that things are fine now, or that they'll get better on their own, or that just voting will solve all our problems, then you probably wouldn't be here tonight, right? If you're ready to kick butt and take names, then this is probably not the group for you, right? But if you want a reason to hope and a means to make things better in this county, this is an opportunity. I joined this group to find somebody who might have my back when times get rough. I'm staying because what I see is a group of patriots making positive change. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Rich. I cut my Bluetooth off, so it's not me. Not me. Thank you, Rich. I really appreciate that, and excellent speech. Guys, our next guest is John Lazoric. I actually got to hear him speak in Louisa. They had a militia meet and greet, and a lot of people like me went up to Louisa County and they met. There's probably 11 or 12 or maybe even more leaders up there, and then the community as a whole, and had some excellent points to make. Constitutional, republic. I'm not going to let you say it, man. I'll say it better than I do. But thank you for coming. He came all the way from West Virginia to be here tonight.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me without the microphone? Well, again, thank you. Thank you especially to Leigh Martell, who actually sent me the invitation. Thanks to a lot of people whose names I don't know who backed her up. I am very honored by the opportunity to talk to you all this evening. I'm honored to be in this room tonight with you men and women who not only know but are choosing to live every responsible American's duty to defend their communities. The need for what we are doing here and what we're doing at home in West Virginia is clearer and clearer as the months pass. In response to unprecedented displays of arrogance and stupidity in our governments, this year has seen a magnificent groundswell of protesting and organizing. But has it even slightly softened that arrogance or stopped the outright criminality of so many of the people that we pay to perform for us the limited tasks of government? I don't think so. This evening's gathering, interestingly, showcases two very different perspectives. We have politicians here asking us to employ them. At least one pretty good one that opened the evening. I like what he had to say. The fact that they are here talking to us instead of to a mob on the street corner leaves little doubt that they are good people. They will have good things to say about our Constitution and our free republic. I think probably, considering the alternatives, we should vote for them. But actually that will do very little to solve the grave problems that brought us here tonight. Their presence in this assembly actually represent two critically different conceptions of our society. Excuse me. We were all taught in school about three branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. We were taught that these are there to check and balance each other. The Federalist Papers, voluminous commentaries on our constitutional system written by men who helped to write it, talk about the state governments and the federal balancing each other, actually opposing each other to prevent either from becoming tyrannical. Do we see any of these counterbalances working today? No, I don't think we do. All the elements of our servant government clearly are devoted to nothing much before the aggrandizement of their own power. We might ask, how did those wise men who were so beautifully inspired to create our system fail to anticipate this? Should they not have added a police branch to our government to keep it all honest? Well, does anyone here think that that would have worked? Does the employee often arrest the boss when he gets out of line? So, let us go back to the first words of our Constitution. We, the people, to secure the blessings of liberty, do ordain. I guess we are the boss. We created a system for the explicit purpose of securing the blessings of liberty. Now, the laws of nature enforce themselves. A hungry cat will hunt. A dropped stone will fall. Because God gave us humans free will, and we chose to misuse it at the very beginning, human law, derived, if it is true law, from the law of God, is different. We can, and often do, choose to break it. So it requires, on the human level, to have an orderly society where we don't have to look behind us every moment. It requires enforcement. For every law that we have is enforced, from ridiculous parking and zoning regulations to laws against robbery and murder. Every law except one. Have you noticed that the Constitution, our country's most fundamental law, is the law that every public employee, almost every public employee, knows he can get away with breaking? That is not a fault of our constitutional system. It is our fault. Until this moment, some of you might say, well, I did not know what to do about it, but I'm going to take that away from you. Our founders' natural, necessary, inspired, and world-shaking solution is found in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15.
Excuse me, I gotta fix something.
Thank you. A little feedback there. Much better. Thank you. Thank you. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 of our Constitution states that the servant government must organize. Wait a minute, getting ahead of myself. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 states that as militia, we, the people, are ourselves to execute the laws of the Union. Today, when we have all been bullied to live in constant fear of the virus, you might call it the Constitution's immune system. The Constitution goes on in the very next clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 16, to say that the servant government must organize, arm, train, and appoint officers to the militia. This ensures that militia is recognized as legitimate, that its effectiveness can be relied on, that it can be summoned to needs outside its own immediate community, and that it is a clearly coordinated part of the legal system, while retaining its station as superior to the official apparatus because it is, in George Mason's words, the whole people. But since the end of Lincoln's War, we the people have allowed our state and federal governments to become lazy and arrogant, to utterly neglect to provide for militia as we require in our highest law. Far worse, our rogue servants have tried to destroy the sovereign power of the people in militia by redefining it and limiting our access to its essential tools. So, is this noble muster we're doing today futile? Have our lawless servants boxed us in, stolen not only our rights but our sovereign power as militia, leaving slavery or insurrection as our only options? No, emphatically no. Our Declaration of Independence, the first organic law of our republic, in which we set forth for all time the principles of legitimate government, which our Constitution puts into practice, catalogs the crimes of King George III, the poster child, if you will, of illegitimate government. You guys probably remember this. I've read the Constitution on the courthouse steps for 19 years now in Pocahontas County, so I'm a little familiar with it. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, return to the people at large for their exercise. Unquestionably, the people's delegation of power or duty to a servant who then refuses to properly exercise it does not and cannot annihilate. It returns to we the people, to delegate to a more trusty servant or to exercise ourselves. So the fact that we are here tonight with countless counties and cities all over our republic are now attempting to take up the task of defending our Constitution as well as our communities as militia. The fact that we are doing this is absolutely correct, although the precise approaches so far used are somewhat lacking. Sanctuary resolutions, such as have been passed in this county and all over this state, are a well-intentioned but weak-kneed borrowing from the lawless left, and no militia resolution, such as I believe Tazewell and Lee counties have passed, has to my knowledge yet led to actual establishment of a constitutional militia. Since the federal and state palaces have slipped their leashes, a mere resolution is no solution. It is no more enough to merely resolve that a certain lawless, quote, law will not run in one's county than it is to declare a sanctuary where we will hide from it. Well, okay. So we need to enforce our highest law, and militia, that's us, is the means. And it is legitimate. But what does that actually look like in practice? Everyone is perhaps most familiar with the fighting side of militia, although most established groups actually spend most of their energy providing a wide range of community services, as well as training for confrontation, such as disaster response and many types of community assistance. But militia's crucial and constitutional law enforcement role has been in total eclipse. This is partly because of the total failure that I mentioned of power-hungry politicians to provide mandatory official support and recognition, but partly because of ignorance of the other ancient pre-constitutional law enforcement organ native to our common law heritage that's called the grand jury. The grand jury has roots over 1,000 years old. It is not supposed to be the lapdog or the rubber stamp of prosecutors and judges. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, who didn't die of natural causes, explained as recently as 1992 in the case U.S. versus Williams, the grand jury is we the people ourselves, empaneled by a court or sheriff, but completely outside their control by design. The grand jury has the authority to investigate any wrongdoing in its jurisdiction, to examine records, summon witnesses by subpoena, and hand down felony indictments. Drawing on the people's intimate knowledge of their own community and with its total independence of and superior authority to the servant government, the grand jury is the American people's ideal and natural process to uncover official lawlessness and corruption, even in judges, prosecutors, sheriffs, and legislators. As embodying the power of law and truth, grand jury is the perfect and necessary partner to the armed power of militia. A grand jury, even if it knows its full power and duty, cannot reach official corruption or organized crime if it has only the often political, career-protecting paid police agencies to execute its warrants. And militia, however well trained and armed, cannot lawfully stop crime or bring criminals to trial without evidence and formal charge. Our founders not only defined government's legitimacy as deriving from its protection of our rights, they gave us the tools and the duty to keep it on the job. Hiding in a sanctuary is for medieval serfs, not only craven but futile. Now, I hope you know that what you are gathered here tonight to do is more important and more effective even than you may have imagined. I am a co-founder of a plan and organization called Tactical Civics. We have developed a constitutional rights protection and militia establishment ordinance that can bring this partnership to any independent community, county, or county equivalent. We've given what we hope is the catchy name American Militia 2.0 to constitutional militia co-deployed with an educated, briefed, supported grand jury. This will not merely supplement the effectiveness of existing police, sheriff, and emergency management units. The restored militia of America's counties will secure the rights of citizens by enforcing our federal and state constitutions and all laws made in pursuance thereof, even against government officials at all levels, our employees, where paid police agencies may be unable or unwilling to do so. Here are a few examples of how it can work. Let's say that all restaurants have now been closed by order of the governor, or all businesses, or firearms are banned, as I mentioned happened in Saluda County, South Carolina. Let us say you have a restaurant that has some sense and wants to protect public health and respect those who fear the virus, but does not want to go out of business and deprive their patrons of a valued service and their employees of jobs. So the owner talks to a local doctor perhaps and to the local health department, and together they decide that increasing table spacing on their own initiative, maybe ramping up ventilation or setting up tables outside in the fresh air, will provide a reasonable degree of safety for people who want to make their own decision to eat a meal there. Maybe they have decided that the whole virus scare is nonsense and they want to go completely back to normal. After all, no one has to eat there. Let's say your Chamber of Commerce gets together with a doctor and maybe the health department and decides that a lot of very important local businesses, machine shops, welding shops, service garages, and gas stations never have concentrations of people in them, and so can keep contributing to the safety and productivity of your community without endangering anyone. What if your mayor tells your police to let rioters destroy your town? And the guns. Red flags on the horizon, outright prohibition. If this county has adopted our ordinance to secure constitutional rights and establish militia, then freedom and prudence become enforceable against mindless, one-size-fits-all, hysterical totalitarianism in this county. We are not talking about nor advocating violent confrontations, only about localities standing for the law and common sense by the procedures set forth by our founders. If your local paid police have been told not to do their jobs, you can. If state or federal government actually sends agents to enforce orders that break the law, your alert and connected militia will know they are coming. Every government employee is sworn to uphold the same Constitution we hold so dear in this room, and I will tell you that I'm pretty sure that the ones sent against you are almost certain to be relieved to be told that they will simply not be given the chance to break that oath, and a way will be found for them to stand down. In the unlikely event that they are true outlaws with no loyalty to oath or law, then they may have to be dealt with accordingly. But one way or another, law and peace and liberty will be secured in your community, this community, our community. Oh, and that mayor who told police to stay home, he can be on the way to jail for conspiracy with the rioters, even if he's the prosecutor's son-in-law. When the next county oversees what you have, I'll bet they'll want some too. And so freedom and common sense and rule of law will begin to spread again, like the cool airs of autumn after a sweaty summer. The rest of the Tactical Civics program, we call it A New Way of Life, goes far beyond this action in your own community. We have a plan called Our First Right to break Congress into small districts as the founders intended, to bring them home under our immediate supervision. We have a thing called the indictment engine to stop government law breaking before it starts. We're partnering with John Guandolo's anti-jihad courses, and we have a dozen and a half draconian reform laws that we hope the restored Congress will roll out over decades to restore all that we the people have lost to lawless servants. At this writing, Tactical Civics has 217 county chapters scattered across the country, ready and willing to work with militia groups, sheriffs, county governments, local gun dealers, and shooting ranges to bring not only new security, restored freedom, but a new, healthful, social, community-building outlet like we have in this room to all Americans. Tonight can, and I hope will be, much more than a muster for community defense. It can, and I will offer that it must be the first step back to the restoration and securing of the constitutional freedom that our founders wrote, fought, and died for. I have literature about the program. I will stay as long as anyone wants to talk about the details. This is something we can get together and start to bring to pass. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Before we get going any further, before Chuck comes up, CW Armor has graciously donated a plate carrier and plates to BCDG. Raffle, it's $10 a ticket, maximum 100 tickets. Norval, why don't you give us kind of a brief rundown of what you got?
We're going to donate a ballistic vest that'll have soft panels and hard plates level 3. It retails for about $1,000, so it's a pretty good shot for $10.
It's 100 tickets max, so crazy if you don't take a shot on it. All right. Also,
Manufactured here in Virginia.
the CW has a full table set up, so please take a look at what they got.
Talking to this gentleman earlier. He's the only guy I've met in 5 years that knows what a carbonizer is, so pretty smart. What he said was pretty good.
We have a registration booth, we have voter registration, please, after, when you get a chance, walk around, check out the rest of the tables. Next, I'd like to invite Chuck Smith up. He's running for I do better without a mic.
Okay, good, great. So
see
good,
anyone.
good evening, Americans. How are you doing? All right. Could you do me a favor? Could we get some patriotism, maybe with "God Bless America"? Just 1 or 2 lines, right? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her. I like the voice. In the night with the light from above, from the mountains, through the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. If you've served in the Army, could you stand? If you served in the Navy, would you stand? If you've served in the Air Force, would you stand? Coast Guard, would you stand? These warriors okay. The best for last. If you served Marine Corps, would you stand? All right, there you go. So my name is Chuck Smith, and I'm running for Attorney General. Listen, I think what the gentleman said was absolutely right. If you see what's happening on our streets, our country, there's a lot of reason to be worried and be afraid. Not just the government is doing these things to us, but individuals that we once thought were sane are acting as if they're possessed. Before I talk about that, I just want to put out on the table. I'm running for Attorney General. I just want to throw this out. I have more experience than anybody who has ever run for the office of Attorney General in 400 years. What am I saying? I've practiced law for 40 years. We've never had anyone to run for Attorney General who's had more than 40 years of practicing law. I'm a former Marine, retired Navy JAG. We've never had that combination. We've never even had a Marine 0311. We've never had someone who was the former chairman of the largest Republican Party city committee in the Commonwealth. We've never had someone that's fluent in Spanish. And we've never had anybody, God help them, that's been born on the 4th of July. So I think I've got the lion's share. I'm going to win this race. I know it because I know it's going to be all about experience. I want to say this to you. Any of you been to Matthews County? Matthews County. Oh, okay. So Matthews County, I had the luxury of going there, and I was going there to speak on the statutes. You know, they want to take our statutes down. They want to take our monuments down. They want to deface them. They want to rename our military bases. Well, in Matthews County, they were having the vote, and I got there late. And I don't know if you've ever been to Matthews County. It really shouldn't matter, but everyone there was white, except for I think the people who wanted to take the statues down. There were like 3 of them, but maybe 150 of the other people. And so when I walked in, I had my suit and tie on, and I told the chairman of the Board of Supervisors I wanted to speak on the statutes. And everybody, you could hear them say, "No, no, no, we don't want him to speak. We don't want him to speak. He doesn't live here." And then the Board of Supervisors said, "No, okay, sir, you can't speak. You have to sit down." And I sat there. I sat there for about an hour. And then I guess she felt sorry for me. She said, "Sir, we're going to let you speak when everybody's done." And the audience again went, "No, no, no, we don't want him to speak. He doesn't live here." And finally, when I got up to speak, you could see as I was walking to the podium, there was this loud chorus voice, "Boo, boo, boo." But when I let out with, "I'm a Marine, Navy JAG commander, retired after 26 years," they were going, "Yay, yay, we want to speak, yay, yay, we want to speak." I left there thinking that I am somehow a secret weapon for the Republican Party. Listen, the Constitution is at risk, and you'll hear me say that. It really is not that complicated. We have 3 parts to the Constitution. It's not my job to teach it to you. I know you know what I'm about to tell you. First is the preamble. And it goes something like this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. It's simple. A projection, if you will, of what is about to come. And then we have the scary part. I call it the scary part. These are the articles where we take everything that we have out of our pockets, out of our lives, and we give it away. All the power is given to the Supreme Court of the United States to interpret the laws. We take everything we have and we give it away to the Congress. All of the power is given to the Congress to make the laws. Take everything, we give it away to the presidency. All the power is given to the president. And so you would think at that point there's nothing left. We've even sucked the air out of the room. But then we have another part that's coming in, and you can imagine being back then. I know none of us were back there. Being back then, people were saying, well, what's for us? We're not going to ratify this Constitution unless you give us something. And so they came to an agreement. And it's just 10 things they wanted, just 10 things, simple 10 things. They called them the Bill of Rights. Right? We want the freedom of the speech. And I'll just go through them in order. I'll come through it again. We want the freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. We want the right to bear arms. We want not to be quartered in doing civil times. We want the freedom against unreasonable searches and seizures. We want due process. We want lawyers, counsel, people trained in the law. We want civil juries. We want to be free from cruel and unusual punishment. I'm going to skip 9 and go to 10. And we, just in case we forgot something, this is what 10 says, the 10th Amendment. Because remember, that's all there were. That's all there were at that time, 1 through 10. Just in case we forgot something, because we know we're not all smart. We're not all knowing. In case we forgot something, then all power that we forgot, which was not specifically delegated to this monstrosity called the federal government, is reserved to the states. What's the next word? No. And to the people. Mr. Northam, that's and to the people. You don't have plenary authority, Mr. Northam. That power that you believe that might not exist in the Constitution doesn't just belong to you. It belongs to the states and to the people. You need to ask us consent if you want us to universally wear masks. You want us to universally do something which is not defined in the Constitution. But let's go to 9. Anyone knows what the 9th Amendment is? Of course you do. Right? These are the rights given by God. The rights of the people. The people retain the rights. And what's meant by that? I know Northam, Mr. Blackface did not read that. I know Mark Herring, Mr. Blackface, did not read that. And I know the gentleman who's involved in scandal was too busy. He didn't read that. But the 9th Amendment literally says these are God-given rights. And there's so many, we don't need to name them. And there's just so many. And what could those rights be? The right to stand. The right to eat. The right to sleep. The right to talk. The right to hear. There's so many. These are the rights that are given to us by God. But the founders knew something. They were saying that we have some other rights. That although we're not going to name the ones that are in the 9th Amendment, these are the general ones, we have some others that we specifically want to name because we don't want people to get it wrong. The right to worship our God. The right to assembly. The right to bear arms. The right against cruel and unusual punishment. 8, the right against unreasonable search. These are the rights that they named. These are the rights that, and so, if you think in terms of God-given rights, the Constitution doesn't give us, are there kids here? Yes. The Constitution doesn't give us a darn thing. These are God-given rights. The Constitution guarantees the rights that are in the Constitution for us. And Mr. Northam, these are guarantees. The rights exist always. The Constitution does not sleep. It does not go to bed. It doesn't get quarantined. It can't be pushed aside. The Constitution always exists. There's nothing above it. There's nothing below it. It is the creation of everything that we know. Because we know that the states, a lot of people think that Virginia was here before the Constitution. Well, let's say it was. But it doesn't matter. Because it did what? It ratified the Constitution, which means it's a part of the United States, which means it comes out of the 10th Amendment. It comes out of that section that says all rights not specifically delegated. That is the formation of government. And that is the formation of this Constitution. So you can't take the Constitution and push it aside. It's like a child taking their parent and pushing them aside and saying, Mom, Dad, I got this. I'm 2 years old. I'm going to walk out and do my own thing. Mr. Northam, that does not happen. Because if you could, for any reason, suspend, pretend that parts of the greater document does not exist, then why can't we pretend and suspend that Section 44 of the Virginia Code, the Office of Governor, does not exist? Why can't we pretend that the Office of Lieutenant Governor doesn't exist, the Office of Attorney General doesn't exist? You know, some time ago, about 4 years ago, a little known secret, it was thought then that the greatest threats to American security, the greatest threats to America, communism, socialism, globalism, anarchy, those could all be defeated by just 3 words: elect Donald Trump. We knew that if in a pinch, if in a crunch, if we needed to resurrect America and rebuild it, and all we need to do was get back to our faith, get back to our values, get back to our principles, get back to those things that made this country strong. And before I go through that, I just want to point out to you that we're in this situation right now. We're in this situation where Northam feels he has all the power, where government, the runaway Congress feels they have all the power, not because of something that we've done. We're in the situation because our elected officials were playing paddlywink and tiddlywink when they should have been protecting the Constitution. Years, we've gone before our elected officials, the great body, the great body in the sky, Republican Party of Virginia, and we told them, you are the protectors of the Constitution. Stop this good old boy system of putting people, the next person in line, the next person's turn. We need to find constitutionalists. We need to find soldiers. We need to find warriors. We need to find fighters. We need to find people who believe in the Constitution and elect them. We cannot blame the spineless, weak politicians who cave on Republican and conservative values. Why? Because they never had spine to begin with. They never should have been in that position to begin with. I say all the time that the simple things, the minor things, the small things that we think are not important are very important to the average voter. Just think about it. It's not the nuclear weapons that cause you to not be able to sleep at night. It's not the grandiose experiments that cause you. Some of our voters just simply want to have a job. Some of our voters simply just want us to get back to the principles that made this country strong, the kitchen table issues, like that mother father struggling to pay for groceries against the rising cost of food prices, that mother father struggling to put food on the table against the discipline of a constrained budget, that family concerned about our children, their safety, their welfare, that citizen concerned about infrastructure, property rights, privacy rights, traffic congestion. In these Americans is American spirit and American pride, and we can't let that die. By and large, they're not looking for a handout. They're just looking for a way out of the massive debt, a way out of the lack of faith, a way out of the lack of vision, values, and principles that have made this country strong. I say all the time, if there is going to be strength for tomorrow, then it's going to be found in them, many of whom are trapped in excessive regulation, government overreach, violations of the Constitution, or their children perhaps may be trapped in failing schools. But we can never reach these Virginians, these voters, these people that we need to vote for us and vote for our conservative principles from the 18th floor of our monthly meeting rooms. You know, the RPV, they meet in this expensive building on the 18th floor. How are you going to connect with the people? We can't reach them from the revolving door of our inexperienced and least qualified candidates. We need people who are going to lead the charge for us, fight for us, and stand for us. And we need to stand with them. I say all the time that There is an answer in the Constitution for every single problem that you may face. And we need to tell Nancy Pelosi and the runaway Congress that laws don't give us our rights. We're born with rights. God did it. The Constitution doesn't give us our freedom. We were born free, born with freedom. God did it. God has helped us build this nation. And it seems like the devil and the Democrats are trying to tear it all down. So I say to them all the time,
Amen.
We've got to stop the socialists, the globalists, the anarchists, the communists in the Democratic Party, and for that matter, if there are any in the Republican Party, from continuing to take God out of the classroom, God out of the courtroom, God out from the halls of justice, and the Constitution off the mantle. We've got to stop, we've got to unite and stop these socialists, globalists, anarchists from continuing to try to rename America, remake America, redefine America, redo America, our monuments, our statutes, our way of life, as if the Constitution to them was just a ragdoll comic book. We've got to stop the socialists and globalists from giving away our rights to vote and drive on our highways to people who constantly break our laws, entering the United States when they want, where they want, how they want, as if somehow they're the citizens and we're the ones illegal. If Mexico is somehow a part of Texas and East and West Coast is a part of Eastern Europe or Europe or part of Asia. We've got to stop these socialist globalists, and no matter what party they're in, from taking away our rights to bear arms and our rights to worship God in our churches and our synagogues. We need to send a clear message. This is not the United States of the Democratic Party. This is the United States of America. And this is not the land of one world order. This is the land of one nation under God. It is not the land of anarchy, hopelessness, helplessness. They think we're helpless, hopelessness. No, this is the land of the free, the home of the brave. Rule of law. Border walls that keep crime out, keep drugs out, keeps criminals out, keeps terrorism out, and keeps Americans free. The conversation we should be having right now is about China. We're not having that because we're so engrossed, if you will, in these constitutional areas of overreach. Mask, wear this mask, don't wear that mask. We're citizens. The one thing I like about your sheriff is that he got it right. We're in charge. We're in charge. He's not in charge, we're in charge. Mr. Northam, you're not in charge, we're in charge. 10th Amendment says it. The people are in charge. But one thing we've got to remember is stop voting for people that your congressman says vote for this person. Stop that. Stop voting for people that, oh, don't vote for this person, vote for that person. You ask yourself, is this a conservative? Is this a true American? Is this a patriot? And you say, let me see your resume. Because if you are a patriot, if you are a true American, if you are someone who believes, that should be in your resume, right? Because if it's not there, it does not exist. And you're not going to find it. Stop voting for the people that they tell us to vote for. Let's do the examination ourselves and find out where they come from. I've got this favorite saying, I think, if you want to be elected official, you should be in the Marine Corps first. Seriously. You want to run for office, you should be in the Navy first. You should be in the Army first. You should be in the Coast Guard first. You should serve your country first. Maybe not the Air Force. I didn't say that. I'll tell you a little quip. We in the Marine Corps, and this is no offense. I love all our brothers and sisters in service, but we sometimes think we're the only real military branch. Everybody else is not a military branch. Right? So we tell people, hey, you were in the Navy, or you really want military service? Of course, I was a JAG officer. I think we have it all wrong. We need to get back to the conversations that we need to have. But in order to do that, we have to get away from what's being fed to us. I think it's high time that we start talking about the issues that really matter to Virginians. And I say this, I promise you this. to every Virginian, every American, the next Attorney General of Virginia will be an ally of America, not an enemy. Your next Attorney General will be an ally of the Constitution, not a Benedict Arnold. Will be an ally of freedom, not a traitor. The next Attorney General of Virginia will be pro-America, pro-Virginia, pro-Trump, pro-life, pro-children, and a card-carrying, 100% unapologetic supporter of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and our men and women in blue. Giving allegiance to Old Glory, the Constitution, the flag. And I tell people all the time, you want to kneel for the flag, you've really lost what it all means and its real purpose. The only time these knees will kneel is when they kneel to pray for your soul, because you really don't understand that people have literally died so that you are here. And unlike those Republicans, unfortunately, I just have to say it, those Republicans who couldn't carry a patriotic tune if you painted it on their face, who couldn't carry a conservative tune from one aisle to the next, unlike those Democrats who, I see my good friend Amanda there, unlike the next governor of Virginia. Please. Unlike those Democrats who betrayed their country, their conscience, their community, and their Constitution. Only a Marine who enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1970 at the height of the Vietnam War when nearly everyone else was running away. Think about that, 1970. What were people doing in 1970? They were dodging the draft. They didn't want to go there. They didn't want to serve. Mothers and fathers falling on their knees, praying to God, please don't draft my son. Sons dodging the draft, going south into Mexico, north into Canada. Bill Clinton and others went east into Europe. Little Chucky went directly to Parris Island, South Carolina. And when I got there, Marine Corps is a nice band, but when I got there, I didn't enlist to play the flute. I didn't enlist to be in the band. I didn't enlist to be in the choir. I didn't enlist to drive a truck. I didn't enlist to be a clerk. I enlisted as an 0311, a grunt, ground pounder, an 0311, a fighter doing wartime infantry. What's my point? That's the type of courage we need in elected office. Selfless courage. The people are in charge. You're elected as a representative. Go serve. Go fight. I'm sick and tired of our elected officials right now. Where were they when these monuments were being torn down? Where were our elected officials when Mr. Blackface was running around suspending the Second Amendment? Where was the statewide emergency when he was found to have been running around in blackface? Where was the support for the Second Amendment when the General Assembly was giving its support for the ERA? At least they should have supported the idea that guns don't kill people, people kill people. But no, they can't go that far. They don't see. It reminds me of this movie. There was a movie that said, "We see dead people." I forget about that. The media sees peaceful protesters. You know, you could be burning down the building and they see peaceful protesters. Where are our elected officials? Why weren't they standing chained to one of the monuments, saying, "You will not take this down"? Why weren't they standing, arguing or making the point that the laws that are being enacted are constitutional? I promise you this. My first week in office, every single law that was passed by the General Assembly January 2020 will be declared unconstitutional. Yeah. Only a Navy JAG commander who is retired after 26 years of combined military service, active, inactive, and reserve, who represented officers, enlisted commands, who served as a prosecutor, special assistant, United States attorney, and a command services attorney, can make that statement and commit to it. Only the former chairman of the largest Republican Party city committee in the Commonwealth, Virginia Beach, can make that statement and commit to it. Only someone who's practiced law for 40 years, again, more than Bob McDonnell, more than Cuccinelli, more than a lot of the people that you know as lawyers. No one's coming this race. In fact, I'll make another prediction. Out of all the Republicans entering the race this cycle, I will have more experience than all of them put together combined in every single critical area. Only a person with that experience can make that statement. And then once again, only someone born on the 4th of July can stand up for this country and stand up for the values that we sincerely believe in. I leave you with this. If the defense of America, if the defense of our values stands nowhere else, if our freedoms live in no one else, it will live in you, in you, in you, in you, in me, in us. Join with us. Stand with us, because we're not going to turn around. We're not going to give up. We're not going to surrender. Not our land, not our vision, not our faith, not one doggone inch. I'll tell you like Martin Luther King said, when they come for our flag, every valley will be exalted. Every hill and mountain will be made low. The rough places will be made plain. The crooked places will be made straight. The glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all flesh will see together that this is our country, land of our birth. This is our country, grandest on earth. I, Chuck Smith, pledge thee my allegiance, America, Virginia, the bold, for this is our country, to have and to hold. Let me say this to you before I sit down. I was going to sit down after that statement, but look, it's critically important that we get people in office who say what they're going to do and do what they're going to say. How many times have elected officials got in and fooled you? We will not be fooled again. It is critical. People are talking about going in the streets. I've met with many militia who've talked about the very thing you've heard the gentleman say. They're not going to take this. They're not going to stand for this. I've got my AR-15, I've got my Glock 19, and I've got my Bible, but I tell you one way or the other, they're not coming for this flag. They're not coming for my children. They're not coming for the values that we all believe in. Just like the 10 Bill of Rights, just like the 10 Commandments, we need an Attorney General who has 10 endearing qualities. Knowledgeable, articulate, bilingual, charismatic, dynamic, energetic, good-looking, inspirational, or role model to Virginians. Thank you all. God bless you all. Let's get together. Let's work to save this country. God bless you. God save the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That was awesome. That was amazing. Guys, our next guest, Senator Amanda Chase, needs no introduction. I don't know where or how this lady even sleeps as busy as she is, but we really thank you for making the time to stop in little old Botetourt tonight. So, stage is yours.
How many are you ready for a new governor? Wait a minute. I asked, how many of you are ready for a new governor? That was an amen from where I come from. That's complete agreement, and he did it 3 times, so I think that's it. I am Virginia State Senator Amanda Chase. I am a second-term state senator. I have a track record of winning. I am going to be the next governor of Virginia. And let me tell you why I am so confident of that. I have never seen one elected official who has done such a terrible job that they have awoken every last person in Virginia, even those who are not politically involved, even the Democrats who vote Democrat. They're not supporting the Democratic ticket this time, because we have gotten to the point where the Democratic Party has been hijacked by the Marxists. That's what's going on here. There is no Democratic Party anymore, and even Democrats recognize this. What's on the ballot this November is Marxism versus our republic. Freedom versus bondage. That's where we are right now. Everyone is awake. Now, I have good news for you. We will win. We are not only going to win this year with Trump, this year, we're going to win with Daniel Gate in the U.S. Senate. all of our congressional candidates. Congressman Ben Klein is going to win this year, and we're going to sweep it. You know, they want you to think that we're not going to win, that they're going to steal the election. And I believe they probably will try, because they're liars and they're cheaters. And I sat on the Senate Privileges and Elections Committee with a joint committee between the House and the Senate as we saw all the fraud and we looked at the rubble from the last election. But let me tell you something. Americans are voting for President Trump this year. And no matter how much cheating they try to do, they are not going to be able to match the red tsunami that is going to hit Virginia this November. Now, I have to give you a battle plan here, okay? Because I've run many statewide races before. And so today, do you know what today is? Today is Election Day. We've got to change the way we're thinking about things. Today, September the 18th, is the first day of Election Day. We have 45 days that we, the people, can vote. And today is just day number 1. Now, if you missed it and you're surprised, that's okay. You have 44 more days to go. And guess what? You can vote in person at your local registrar's office. They got rid of all the excuses. Isn't that great? That's the one good thing they did. I actually supported that legislation. We want to encourage people to vote. But don't you dare mail in that ballot. If you do, just don't, okay? Just don't. I don't want you to mail in your ballot, and I'm telling you, I don't care what person says that. I've been winning elections for over a decade, and I'm telling you, they want to, the Democrats, I'm not even gonna call them, they're Marxist, okay? They want to set up, the legislation before the General Assembly right now is they want to set up these random boxes, unattended, in the middle of, all the Democratic precincts. That's where they're going to put them. That's what these boxes are for. They're going to put them there so people can just drop their ballots off. Who in their right mind would do that? Would you drop your child off at an intersection and just leave them and walk away? Give me a break. We're not that stupid. I did make the case on the floor of the Senate. I said, excuse me, the patron of the bill. I said, if you can't even keep the streets of Richmond from being destroyed, how are you going to keep those boxes from being destroyed? Right. Oh, and by the way, if your mask works, why don't you go use it and vote? Right? That's right. Yeah. I mean, if it weren't for double standards, they'd have none at all. Let's just be honest, right? Yeah. So make sure that you go in person and you vote. And you have all the way till Tuesday, November the 3rd. That's right. That's right. That is the last day to vote, not the first day to vote anymore. Second assignment. I want you to call your registrar's office and say, I want to work the polls. If you need some help, sign me up. You will actually get paid to do it, and you will work inside the poll to make sure they don't cheat. I had Senator Hashmi to stand on the floor of the Senate in front of all of us and inform us that there's no voter fraud in Virginia or the United States of America. I was doing this, like that, because we've got the little button, and I'm just, oh my gosh, she just makes me crazy. She's the junior senator. She's the junior senator from Chesterfield. I'm the senior senator from Chesterfield. You think she should listen to me since I'm the senior senator? So I just had to educate her real quick with some Department of Justice studies that actually showed that there has been fraud in Virginia, and maybe you weren't in the Senate at the time, but I was. And let's just talk about JMU and all the cheating that occurred at the last election. You remember that in Harrisonburg at JMU and all that? Yeah, I kind of, she's entitled to her opinion, but not her own facts. Let's just get that straight. So I had to educate her. So everyone is awake, and they are going to get out and vote, and we are going to win big. Now, how am I going to fix this hot mess? The first thing I'm going to do when I'm elected is I'm going to set a Guinness Book of World Records for the number of executive orders that any governor in Virginia has ever filed, and I'm going to bring us back to the constitutional plumb line and restore our Second Amendment rights first. Yeah. Right back there. And then I'm going to limit my power so that no other governor after me can ever be a tyrant like this governor has that's in there now. It's just unbelievable what is going on. You guys know we're in session right now. I'm in session, and we're different than the House. We actually go to the Science Museum of Virginia. And yes, I'm the only legislator in the Virginia General Assembly that does not wear a mask. That's right. Yes, that's right. And in fact, they're so scared of my germs of freedom that they have built a plexiglass wall around me. I'm not even lying. But I believe Northam paid for it, so I'm okay with it. That's my wall of freedom. That's my wall of freedom. And why do I refuse? Now listen, if you wear a mask, that's great. It's your choice. Don't you love it when the liberals say, my body, my choice? Right. But go back to the double standard, unless it's a mask, right? It just... You can't make this up. So it really drives me crazy. People are like, why, let's just go back to the General Assembly session. We had this terrible election this last year. What is the first thing that the Marxists went after? They went after our Second Amendment, which is our first line of defense. Think about this. And I know I'm talking to the press, but I think that's the top issue of the day when I'm governor. That is the biggest issue that I need to fix as a governor. It is the foundation of every other freedom that we have. That's right. Because if you don't have the ability to defend yourself and your family and your rights, like the First Amendment and every other constitutional freedom that you have that Chuck so eloquently talked about tonight, you have no way to defend it. No way. Let's go back to the second thing that I told you that I was going to do. Law enforcement. Law enforcement is our second line of defense, right? And we need to fully fund our law enforcement. Yeah. We need to defend our police, not defund our police. And I'm looking at the budget, and I would tell you that we have never fully funded our police. Under a Chase administration, that's going to happen. That is going to happen.
Amen.
That's right. And, we've had a lot of legislation that has come before the General Assembly. We have had an attack during session on our Second Amendment, and y'all know I was very vocal. I spoke at the 2A rally in defense of our Second Amendment rights. It is the most important thing that we need to fix to make Virginia just Virginia again. Let's just start with the basics, take us back to the plumb line. And I've always said when seconds matter, you've got to have that first line of defense. I do have a 100% rating with the NRA. With the VCDL. I have an A rating with the NRA. But the most important thing that I do is I carry. Yeah. Every day. I keep my gun right next to my lipstick. Today I'm carrying my diamond back because diamonds are a girl's best friend. That's right. But unfortunately, because we've so badly defunded our law enforcement, our second line of defense is at stake. So, it takes like 20, 30 minutes for law enforcement to get there. I call them, for me, it would have to be cleanup because I've already taken care of business. But we need our second line of defense. And, these Marxists are trying to defund our police. And, I have actually carried the Fraternal Order of Police legislation for the last 5 years. And it's such an honor to be able to do that. I'm actually a member of the Chesterfield Fraternal Order of Police. And I have a number of friends, I have even people on my staff who are law enforcement, prior law enforcement. And I so respect them. I respect their families. And in fact, if you're a law enforcement, would you stand right now so I can recognize you? I know, where's the sheriff? The sheriff was here earlier. No, the sheriff. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. And I also want to recognize our veterans. Do I have any veterans in the house? Because if you would, please stand. Wow, I thought I might have a few veterans. Y'all stand if you're able, please, so we can recognize you. Thank you for your service. Yes. See, I love this puppy dog. I love it. Listen, I really appreciate our veterans. I appreciate our law enforcement. You are our second line of defense. When we're trying to protect ourselves and our families with our first line of defense, you guys have our backs, our veterans, our law enforcement protecting our second line of defense, and we are so thankful for that. Because without that, they're going to try to strip us of our history. They're trying to censor our history. They're trying to stand it down. They're trying to tear it all down, and much of it they already have. Under a Chase administration, I will put it all back up. I'm telling you. And they're going to pay for it, too. It won't be taxpayer money. I'm going after them. We're going to put together a team of attorneys, and we're going to make it happen. And I'm actually in the process of doing that.
We know a good one right over there.
See me later. See me later. Yes, Chuck, obviously. Yes. I love Chuck. Chuck is a great guy. We have to restore America. They want to destroy our history. They want to censor our history so that our kids don't know our true American history. That's what they want to do, and we cannot let them. Look at what they've done. The third thing that I was going to tell you that I want to do, not just reform our education. We need a complete overhaul of our education system. We need an overhaul of our public schools, our higher education, our colleges and universities, a complete overhaul. Now, y'all know I'm a mom of 4 grown kids. And what they did to my daughter, I will never forgive them for. I homeschooled all 4 of our kids, had them in private Christian school. They teach them in college this toxic indoctrination, not to love our country, teach them that they're racist, that to apologize for something that they weren't responsible for. That's called crap. That's crap. I'm being nice tonight. We have to put an end to that. And whenever I was a freshman legislator, I said, look, I went to the majority leader and I said, we have the House, we have the Senate. We need to defund these colleges and universities that continue to indoctrinate our kids into their liberal ideologies. That's what we've got to do. Because until we do that, they have no motivation to change. None. We've got to declare war on our education system. Listen, I've done everything. Y'all know I'm a huge school choice advocate. I actually put in 2 bills this session that we're in now that said this. If a locality goes 100% online and abdicates their responsibility, their constitutional responsibility to educate your kid, that money that comes from the state portion goes to the parent. That's right. To the parent. In the form of an education voucher to offset their costs. So send your kids to a private school where they're actually there 5 days a week, right? Or if you have special needs kids, how about a tutor, right? Homeschooling. Let's open the door for school choice. And if they're going to abdicate that responsibility and you're having to work full-time and educate your kids full-time, you need that money to help yourself out, right? Don't you agree with me? And my second bill said if you're going to require 100% online school, then you need to make sure they have access to the internet. Can you believe the Marxists voted that down? They voted that down. Both of those bills died in committee. Now, I will tell you something funny. I'm learning a little bit about parliamentary procedure. One day, on the floor of the Senate, I just had enough. I was really mad that they killed my 2 bills. So I hit my button, and I said, Mr. President, I rise to discharge bills, Senate bills 5020 and 5021, just like that. And I'd like a roll call vote. All the A's and the nays. Just like that, sister. This is how we do business. And you should have seen the Republicans and the Democrats all scrambling like little crickets, roaches, running this way or that way, because I wanted to hold everybody accountable. You should have to vote on this stuff, right? You should have seen them. Everybody. We spent the whole day on my bill. They were like questioning me. Like, it was like whack-a-mole. Like one of them jumping up and sitting down just like this, asking me questions about my bill. And, you know, everybody got all hot and bothered and sweaty and all that kind of stuff over my little bills because I decided that day I was going to discharge those bills. It was very entertaining. You should definitely go to my Senator Amanda Chase page and go watch that video because that is very entertaining. I do things different than most Republicans. You know, there's two types of Republicans. There are weak-kneed Republicans. You know them. I'm not going to name any. And then there's firebrand Republicans, right? Yeah. And we need firebrand Republicans that do more than just vote. We need smart, articulate. You're the good-looking one. You're the good-looking one. People who are willing to be ballsy, forgive me, and to take some chances, and to have a backbone, and to speak up. Use your freaking voice. I got so irritated. You know, Facebook for me is cheap therapy. I just have to be honest with you, in case you've read some of my posts. One day I got on there and I was just so frustrated because I feel like I'm the only one speaking up and the Republicans, many of them are not speaking up. Some of them are. Senator Newman's really come alive this year. And I'm very thankful for that. I think it's great. But I said, you know what, we need to change our mascot of the Republican Party from an elephant to a cricket. Because they've been nothing but, right? We've got to be a little bit louder. The silent majority has to rise up. Now is our time. We have to speak up. We have to educate we the people on what these Marxists are doing so that when election time comes, everyone is aware. Or as my kids would say, they're woke. Right? And we've got to get people out to vote. We have to work on election day. One last thing. No other legislator has exposed this. The pay-to-play system in Richmond. The pay-to-play system in Richmond works like this. I make $18,000 a year. I was charged $10,000 a year for a caucus due to the Republican Senate caucus. You do the math. That's not even enough for my one gun a month. I'm just saying. Not enough. Unbelievable. So what happens is the PACs and the lobbyists, they're ready to give you money. They'll stroke you a check for $2,000, $5,000, $1,000, depending on what committees you sit on. Do you see where this is going? Yeah, exactly. I'm going to introduce a bill this coming session that says if you sit on a committee, that lobbyists cannot contribute to your campaign. Right? I mean, I may be blonde, but I am smart. But to me, that's quid pro quo, right? That's quid pro quo. And that's legal. They're saying it's legal in Virginia, and I don't think it should be. It's a conflict of interest. That's right. And, you know, I'm not a politician. I'm a business person. I'm many times called Trump in heels. I proudly embrace our president. I'm okay with it. I've been called Senator Annie Oakley. Yes, that was me. I'm totally down with that. Definitely a straight shooter. You know, some people don't like that. I even have Republicans throwing darts at my back. I'm okay. It's okay. I will stand up for our principles no matter what they throw at me. But they are furious at me, Republicans and Democrats alike, that I have exposed the pay-to-play system because they rely on that money. Not only just to get people elected, but it goes for other things too. It's just not appropriate. It's not appropriate, and that's where they are right now. So I've exposed the pay-to-play system, and they are furious with me that I've done this. But I think you need to know that the reason Virginia has the budget that it looks like. We balance our budget on drugs, alcohol, and now casino gambling. And that's because they are thinking the lobbyists are controlling the legislation in the General Assembly, not we the people. And under a Chase administration, we are going to put an end to that. One last thing, you know, I am a little bit of a firebrand Republican. I'm not so politically correct. I have so many, you know, when you speak the truth, it's considered controversial, right? When I was talking about them erasing white history, that's what they were doing. And I said, what happens when I say Black history? What happens when I say Black History Month? We should never be teaching history based on the color of our skin.
Amen.
We are Americans. We should be teaching history according to chronological order. That's what I did when I was homeschooling. We're separating people by the color of their skin. It should never be that way. We should be treated with equal treatment under the law, not special treatment under the law. Period. Period. And that was considered controversial. But it was true. Look at the statues they took down. Arthur Ashe is still up there. I'm just saying. See, truth, some people can't handle the truth. Let's be honest.
Put Monument Avenue back together.
Oh, honey, it's on my list already. I've already got people lined up. Yeah. So we have a lot of things to fix. Things that I want you to know that you're going to hear in the media. Because I ran for re-election last year, and I had Alec Baldwin going door to door on my street with my opponent. Alec Baldwin. Soros, Bloomberg, through Anytown for Gun Safety, dumped thousands of dollars into my opponent's race. She raised more money than I did, but guess what?
You won.
I won, and I didn't just win by a little bit. I won by 10 percentage points, which was the largest margin of any other controversial Senate race in Virginia. In Virginia. So I know how to win, and I've run everybody else's races. I've run congressional races. I've helped with statewide races and leadership positions, and you need to know that because it's very important. I'm a true grassroots candidate. I'm a ticked-off mom. That's why I got involved with politics. This was never on my bucket list. You can ask my husband of 28 years. We've been married 28 years. We dated 6 before that. This was never on my bucket list. I just got that fed up. I just got that fed up with what was going on. And when I heard the name Barack Obama, I had to get involved. And I've been involved ever since with my pants on fire pretty much. Everybody's like, how do you do all this? And I'm like, that's how I try to be constructive. That's how I try to take our country back to, because I know what it takes to run for governor. I know what it takes to run statewide. We have to convince people, because we've had so many people who claim to be Republican who are not Republicans, that I have to look you in the eye, face to face, talk to you individually, and you know, you're smart. You know real Christmas trees from fake ones. I know everyone in this room does. And that's why I have to, I pledge I will go to every single city, every single county in the Commonwealth until I've had the opportunity to speak to every single city, every single county in the Commonwealth. So you know that I am a real Republican. And I will stand on our principles, our values. You know me. I won't back down. In fact, there was a sheriff in Chesterfield who was a Republican who, by his actions, created sanctuary cities. And I called him out. And because I stood on principle, that GOP committee kicked me out of their GOP. Just weeks before my re-election campaign, just like that. So you have to know the real Republicans from the fake ones, just like Chuck was saying earlier. And we both know a lot, don't we, Chuck? We know each other from a long time, and they're out there. So there are a lot of good Republicans in Botetourt. You guys are like the best. I love, like, the further I get away from the city, the easier I can breathe, and like my sinuses clear up and my head, my migraines go away. I mean, it's just healthier out here. It just really is, and I love you guys. The GOP back home where I come from, they are crazy, right? They just are. So, listen, I appreciate, do I have time for a couple questions?
Yes.
Because I want y'all, see, I've been talking, I want to listen, because that's what good legislators do. Yes, sir.
Me and Remus were at a militia meeting here a couple months back and had a conversation with a gentleman named Bill Carrico. And he gave his little spiel and spoken like a true outdoor Republican. And I had a conversation with him afterwards. I said, what are your thoughts on Miss Amanda Chase? He said, well, I want to make a long story short. He said, well, she left the caucus because she wasn't going to do what the caucus asked of her. I said, right there is why she is going to whip you if you run. Because she left the caucus and she don't want a back scratch, and she's not going to scratch anybody's back. And that's why you're going to lose if you throw your hat in the ring, buddy.
That's exactly right. Yes.
He was about this tall when I got done with him. That was just a small part of the conversation.
Well, all I'm going to say is God answers prayers in mysterious and miraculous ways, and I know. And I'm friends with Senator Carrico, and I've actually invited him to all my events because I'm that kind of a person. Invited him to all my events. But he said, you know, I'm just waiting for God to give me a sign. And I'm not even kidding you, but some lady at one of my events in Hillsville bought 9 signs and put it in her yard, and she lives across the street from Bill Carrico. I wanted to text him and say, well, did you get the sign? Thank you. Yes, sir.
You planning on giving Lee Carter a stroke with all your executive orders?
Yes. No problems. He just freaks out when he sees me in public. I don't even have to do anything really. It's just,
Really?
a lot of them do. They freak out. It's just, I don't know. I have that effect on some people. Yes, sir.
From January 20th protest, the peaceful protest, by the way, what's been the changes and or the fear that has been evoked from that we don't get to see from the people that are in the legislature? Are they scrambling? Are they paranoid? Are they worried? Because I mean, what's going? Are they worried about private security? What I mean, if you could give us some information.
I am so glad you asked me that question. I have lots of stories that we could stay here all night with all my stories. It reminds me, I was in the ladies' room in the Senate chamber, and Senator Favola comes in, and she picks up my purse. Y'all know I don't care what rules they pass or put in office. Like, I'm doing my Second Amendment thing. Like, y'all just keep moving. She picked up my purse because I think she wanted to see if I had my gun, and I was like, oh gosh, she's gonna like report me. I was like, oh wow, I guess I'll be in jail tomorrow. But you know, they're still trying to figure me out, and they keep their distance from me because they probably figure that I carry. But they weren't even there on January the 20th. You know that, right? They were hiding from you because they were terrified because you guys carry big scary guns, right? They didn't want to see you and me. They don't. But by you showing up, let me just tell you what happened. I co-founded the Transparency Caucus with Delegate Mark Levine. The Delegate Mark Levine. The one, House Bill 891, right? So look, I don't compromise. I'm just going to tell you. I know where I stand on issues, and if I have something in common with you, great, we can work on that together. But I don't compromise. I'm not one of those. And I've gotten 3/4 of my legislation passed that I wanted to get done my first 4 years in office. So I got plenty of time, right? Now I'm gonna cause some ruckus. But because you guys showed up, the Democrats were terrified. And in fact, they were so terrified on the day that I announced my run for governor later that day, House Bill 891 was before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And Delegate Mark Levine was sitting there on the front row, and I walked in there, and you guys were there. It was awesome, all these awesome 2A people. And I go to sit down beside Delegate Delegate Levine and I'm just kind of laughing. I said, I'm going to sit beside you just so nobody will kill you or anything. You know, I'm just going to be your, you know, it's probably good that I sit beside you. And he was like, yes, please do. Then the chairman comes over to me, Senator Edwards, who's a Democrat, chairing the Judiciary Committee, comes over to me and he goes, Senator Chase, I just want to let you know that House Bill 891, that's going to go by for the year, okay? Do you understand? I was like, yes, thank you very much. I'm glad you got the word. Because I've actually been on, what he probably figured out is that I'm on Facebook, and I have over 125 followers on Facebook that are following me, which is you guys and all. We are calling their offices. You guys did a great job. Y'all were there. We had the legislators' faces from the Judiciary Committee, their contact information, the bad vote they were going to make, and you guys were calling them out. He basically was telling me in so many words, call off the dogs. Call off the dogs. So you showing up makes a big difference. Now the second story, I guess the third story, that I want to tell you is that because I have the relationship with Delegate Mark Levine, he's a little crazy, right? We don't agree on anything else other than transparency, right? That's it. But I have a good relationship with him. And so he was driving home to Alexandria, and I said, Mark, I said, you know I carry. Are you trying to make me a felon? And all of our law-abiding citizens in Virginia that carry to protect themselves? I said, why do you want to make us felons? Oh, gosh, you know, I don't want to make you a felon. And I said, that's what you're doing. And I said, look, I really wish you'd just strike your bill. Could you just strike it? It's not a good bill. It's un-American. He's like, Amanda, I'm so concerned about these school shootings. I'm going to make an hour-long conversation. I'm going to cut to the chase and tell you what I was able to do is talk him down from a felony down to a class 1 misdemeanor. I did that. And that's why we're not felons today, because of that conversation I had with him, because he respects me as a person. I treat every person, most every person, not everybody, just most people, like a person. Yeah, and so I had that conversation with him and was able to negotiate that down. So what is the lesson from that? Continue to call. Go to my Senator Amanda Chase Facebook page. I will tell you who you need to call. We will put that information on my Facebook page. Follow me on Facebook. The second thing is show up. And I've already talked to Philip Van Cleve with the Virginia Citizens Defense League, who's a very good friend of mine. Helped me pick out my holster for my new gun. They are going to do the rally again, but it's going to be different this year because they're not going to give us a permit. And so they're actually plan to show up because we're going to be doing something, but you won't find out to the last minute what that something is. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? Okay. So it's going to happen, and I want you guys to show up because we still have to show up in force just like we did last year. It's just going to be creative, okay? How about that? Yes, sir.
So I assume everybody here should be a member of the BCDL so they get that communication.
I think that's a very wise deduction right there. You're not even blonde. I'm proud of you.
I used to be.
I always joke around. Everybody says they assume if you're blonde, you're not smart. So I always have to throw that out there. Yes, sir.
What's the plans on the Republican side if they do this mandatory vaccine?
Well, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I will have my gun with me. And if they come near me, I'll probably shoot them. I'm just going to be honest with you. I am not doing a vaccine. I don't even can I just be honest with you? I have issues with some of the childhood vaccines. I just do. I think it's a parent's right to choose. I believe in medical freedom. It's your body, your choice. Once again, on our side of the aisle, I will never support a mandatory vaccination. Will they probably try to do it in their sneaky way? They probably will. You guys, we're going to have to push back. And I know it's against everything in us because we want to follow the law. We want to do what we're told. But we're going to have to push back. I went into the place I normally get my nails done. And it's a friend of mine that owns it. and she let me go in there without a mask because I don't do the mask. Yeah, see, freedom. Well, this liberal, socialist, Marxist calls the Virginia Department of Health. And I go in there, and she was like, honey, I want to do your nails and everything. Could you just put the mask over your ear? No! I'm not putting a mask over my ear. That's stupid. This is the face of freedom. Right? I'm not going to do it. So I'm like, look, I respect the position you're in, but I'm not going to get my nails done. My nails look like crap today, by the way. And this is kind of funny. My nails look so bad. My husband was like, last night, he's like, I'm going to paint them for you. He stuck, I don't know, I didn't know this was a thing, but I think he was looking it up on Facebook or somewhere. He stuck the nail polish in the freezer for a couple minutes and brought it back out. He was painting my nails. They were red. It looked so bad, it looked like I cut all my fingers off. So I loved his heart. My husband has a servant's heart, and I love that about him. But I am willing to go without polished nails for the sake of a cause, and you can too. And there are a lot of things we're going to end up having to. We've got to push back against it. And if we would actually stick together, we the people, and push back on this, and push back with our money. Challenge people. Executive Order 63 does allow exemptions for people with medical conditions, and they're not allowed to ask you for the reason. Right. It's against the Americans for Disability Act. Print it off and highlight it. And then do like I did. Did y'all see another controversy added to my list? I was in Harrisonburg, and they weren't going to seat me. And so I'm prepared now. My security team, as soon as I enter controversy, they start videoing. Roll that footage, right? That's what we got to do. We got to be smart. Think about it. Go in with a couple people. Start videoing. We're going to have to file some lawsuits. We're going to need to file a lawsuit against the Virginia Department of Health. We got to do something. We got to push back, and we're going to do it. And Chuck, maybe that's something you and I can work on. Absolutely. Like now. We need to get that done.
I was going to say, how did he close those restaurants, though? I mean, with the health department?
Yeah, so let me just talk to you about Calabash. I have some good friends that own Calabash Seafood. They still continued to operate even after they lost their license. I love these people. They are just wonderful people. And I said, it's time to do an event at your place. We're doing one there next week. The Attorney General actually filed paperwork to officially shut them down, which is just sad. I mean, it's illegal to have a thriving business. It just is. I mean, only in America. They're using COVID to invoke fear to keep you under their thumb. It's in the beginning. And if you talk to a lot of our friends who are from other countries, communist countries, that have come here, they will tell you it starts with a mask. They've done it to all their city. This is in their playbook, and we have to push back. We have to fight back. I did want to tell you all some breaking news, which I don't know if you have heard, but Ruth Gator Ginsburg has passed away. He's passed away. When God closes one door, he opens another, and that's all I'm going to say about that. President Trump is still our president, and I hope to God they rush this through very quickly. Very, very quickly. But anyway, any other questions?
Yeah, we want Judge Janine.
Yes. Yes, sir.
One question we haven't heard answered. What's your agenda on veterans' rights and benefits? What do you got in plan?
Government's rights and benefits?
Veterans.
Oh, veterans. Oh, yes, veterans. Okay, so right now, I've actually already, let me tell you what I've already done for veterans. How about that, as a state senator? How many of you know what a Veterans Health Care Center is? I co-sponsored that legislation. It passed, signed into law, moving forward. That's the least we could do. Most veterans issues are federal issues, you know that, because I worked for 3 different congressmen before. And most of that is a federal level. But I've done everything I could at the state level to ensure that every resource that we have at the state level is available to all of our veterans. I know that former Governor Terry McAuliffe was saying that there's no homelessness among our veterans. What? What is that? One of the things that I would like to see armed SROs in our schools, and I would like to employ our veterans into those SRO positions. Yeah. And I actually had a bill that ticketed people that speed through school zones. That money would go toward funding that position. So we're actually already built in the funding mechanism, so we don't raise. I won't ever vote to increase taxes or increase fees. I will figure out ways around that. I'm pretty creative.
But on a state level, is it more we can do for our brothers and sisters who are committing suicide?
Yes. I actually normally have on a blue ribbon for our brothers and our sister veterans with suicide awareness. And I've actually been very active with Vets for Trump. They've come to all my vets. I've actually done ceremonies for our vets. Through my campaign for Senate last year, we did an entire ceremony, and we had all the vets come from our district. I penned them all. We recognized our vets. I've always had the vets behind me and supporting me whenever I ran for state senate. So, and I am always open to suggestions, things that you have. I said, I don't care where you live, call me. I'll help you out if you're a veteran. Some of you all have liberal Democrats in your leadership and you need help, but because I've worked for 3 congressmen, I know some people. All right, do I have time for any other questions? Yes.
One of the problems I feel like we see a lot is that when people get into their new terms, in the first year they pass legislation that's controversial and then hope that the people forget about it in the next 2 years. Is there anything we can change about how we vote for any elected official where if they pass legislation, they're immediately up for re-election, or something that makes them accountable for anything they pass so we don't forget about it for 3 years?
So to answer your question, that's why I've always supported term limits. I'm the one that introduces that legislation every year. I think incumbents have an unfair advantage. They get all the money from the PACs, which I don't get anymore, or the lobbyists, which I don't. I've offended all of them. I'm really good at that. Called them pay to play. They don't like you anymore, but it's the truth. But that's what we have to do. And one of the other things that I've introduced, to hold people accountable. Go to VPAP, Virginia Public Access Project, and you can actually see where they get their money. That's one thing you want to go. There's really, other than virginiageneralassembly.gov, that is the only place you can actually look at legislation that legislator has sponsored. And it's so complicated. I'll teach you all a class someday. Maybe I'll do that online right before session. I'll do like a tutorial so you can follow the history, the bill history, so you can track it and see where it is. But that's the only way you can do that. Yes, sir.
Would you please explain how the grand jury can be used to hold public officials accountable?
How grand juries can hold public officials accountable. The only way that I know, like if you want to recall, like I was looking to recall the governor of Virginia because I was that mad. I looked into that and filed numerous requests, FOIA requests, everything I could get, thousands of pages from the governor's office to see if I could find a smoking gun to recall him. I was looking for premeditation right before the Second Amendment events, like whenever he was already calling for an emergency and nothing had happened yet. We were wondering if that was premeditation. That's what you have to do. You have to find that smoking gun. You have to get 10% of the folks that voted in the last election to recall them. Plus, in the General Assembly with the governor, you have to actually find that smoking gun to take them out. And as far as the grand jury is concerned, I'm not. What happens is, whenever you do the signatures and you get the actual signatures, electronic signatures don't matter, by the way. You got to get the real ones where you're under perjury, you sign that this person has neglected their responsibilities, and you have to put the last 4 digits of your social number. It's pretty intense. So all these electronic petitions, they're really nothing. But then, once you get the signatures, then you take it to the courts. But because you're talking about the governor, that's going to be in Richmond. So what do you think your chances are in Richmond?
That's why we need militia enforcement of the law.
Amen. And I fully support that.
The process you're talking about, excuse me for jumping in, but the process you're talking about is within the government structure. Grand jury and militia are outside of the superior jury.
Yeah. I support militias. I will tell you that up front. Most legislators won't say that publicly, but I do. And I go around to militias all over Virginia. I fully support. I feel like we're at a point right now, we're at a tipping point where our government is out of control right now. And we're gonna be in a position where they're talking about defunding our police and all these attacks on our police. We are going to, as citizens, have to keep the peace. And I'm thankful for our militias because we need them in our communities, and I'm encouraging people to join them. Get educated, get trained. We can't operate out of fear. We have to band together and protect our communities, especially when our second line of defense, our law enforcement, is such under attack. We gotta stand together with them.
Can we, and maybe this may be too big for anything bigger, but in the state of Virginia, could we do something about the media and maybe the slander? Is there anything that we could maybe...
I'm going to tell you the tricks of the trade.
Okay.
So this is why you want me for governor. This reason alone. There are many reasons, but for this one. I know how to handle the media. We do Facebook Live. Every time I do an interview, I do a Facebook Live. Have y'all ever noticed that?
But you need a better microphone.
We got one.
Okay.
We got one. We just got one. We've gone through 3 microphones. I don't know. I like zap them or something. I don't know. They just, but yes. So we do Facebook Lives and recording. I've done 4 media interviews today, and I record every last one of them. And Patrick Wilson from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, I held his little butt accountable. He tried to write a hit piece on me, and I'd already recorded it. I'm like, boom, posted it on Facebook. I'm like, by the way, y'all, here's the hit piece from Patrick Wilson. Here's his story, and here's the actual interview. Boom. That's how we handle the media. And you got to know, whenever you're doing press conferences, I don't let them walk all over me. And President Trump doesn't either. I wish I could say I taught him a few things. He's doing pretty good on his own. But that's what we have to do. Yes. I think my time is probably up. Listen, thank you guys for listening today. Thank you for your questions. We are going to make Virginia great again. God bless you. One last thing. We do have T-shirts. We have hats. We have all that type of campaign collateral. I don't have the money from the big guys supporting me, so we're running our campaign like a business. If you'd like to buy something tonight, we greatly appreciate it. There's also an online store, chaseforva.com. Thank you for supporting us. God bless you.
Also, everybody, don't forget, CW Armor donated a plate carrier, plates, the whole 9 yards, full kit. $10 a raffle, only 100 tickets being sold for a $1,000 plate carrier.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, that's what
Say something. You can say something.
We don't have many that even know what a plate carrier is. You think about doing another hike?
Yeah. Are you asking? Yeah, we need to do it. I missed the
When are y'all doing the raffle for the gun? That's the question.
Tonight?
Like,
Soon? Now?
yeah, that's.